Women in STEM Done Dirty Part 2. This is Nettie Stevens. Stevens discovered that biological sex was determined by chromosomes. In 1905, she was doing research in the hot new field of genetics, studying mealworms. She would slice out some sperm cells and egg cells from these little creatures, slap them on a slide, washy, dye, heat it up. Take a look, what do you see? And she noticed that male species had 19 big chromosomes and one kind of weird little shriveled chromosome, whereas all the females had 20 sizable chromosomes. And that when you broke them all up and grouped them together, they had 10 equal pairs for the ladies and 9 pairs for the gentlemen with 2 random mismatched leftovers. She repeated this observation in like 30 other tiny insect creatures and then published her findings in 1905. It was generally met with silence, skepticism even from her mentor and former PhD advisor, Dr. Thomas Hunt Morgan. Now, at the time, there had been a theory proposed that chromosomes contained genetic material, but that was not widely accepted and there was no proof of that. Popular mainstream theory was that chromosomes were just structural material in the cell. But Nettie's paper demonstrated a visible phenotypic biological trait of inheritance that could be tied to the chromosomes. But nobody took it seriously until about 6 months later, another more established male scientist named Edmund Beecher Wilson published basically the same findings, only slightly less accurate. Suddenly, everybody accepts this as proof, and now we're investing so much time and research and energy into studying if genes are linked to chromosomes. Skeptic mentor Thomas Hunt Morgan goes on to spend the next 2 decades doing this, identified a specific X-linked mutation that only showed up in males, did the earliest forms of gene mapping, bing, bang, boom, and eventually wins a Nobel Prize in 1933, building on findings he was originally completely dismissive of. Now you may be wondering, didn't Nettie say anything? Well, no, because she passed away in 1912 of breast cancer in her early 50s. So the men got to write the books, the men got to downplay her contributions, and every textbook you read from the 20th century will mention Edward Beecher Wilson and Thomas Hunt Morgan's contributions, but they don't mention Nettie's. Praise be to the scientific historians of the world who revived her work and gave her credit, and hopefully that means she'll be included in future editions of genetics textbooks. Not that anyone actually uses their textbooks.